Yo, what is up, YouTube? Wanted to go through an updated deck profile for my Fire King. Little bit of Snake Eyes. It's more Fire King than Snake Eyes deck, but now that the new ban list is going to be coming up in the next couple days, Bonfire's going to 2, so I wanted to update the ratios in here to kind of run it with 2 and then see how it does in the ranked ladder. And not too bad. This version of the deck is interesting. Not as strong, I would say, as like a full Snake Eyes build, but just having the tiny package in there with the 1 Ash, 2 Poplar, 1 Flamberge, and then 1 Original Sin really does make the pure Fire King just have a lot better utility choices going into the extra deck climb, and then also gets you a strong turn 1 play setting up to get into your Fire King, searching the combo out into Ponix. But yeah, so we'll go through some game replays and I'll try to break down some of the plays and the thought choices of what's been going on. Other notable callouts for this list that are different from what most people run. I fit in the three effect Veiler, 3 Imperm, the Called By package. I have no crossout designator, but running 2 talents just for board breakers going second. And I'm running 2 Sanctuary, 2 Island. A lot of people run them as one-ofs. In this version where I'm running Volcanics and trying to do more Fire King combo lines where I have, Arvada and Rangbali, bunch of different options like that. So running 2 is really helpful. There's been times where it gets removed and it's just kind of like, okay, what do I do from there? And being able to get Ponix back into rotation, search for a second Sanctuary, or, things like one time I purposely got rid of my Fire King Island to pop my monsters to then start my combo through the graveyard effects, and then searched for another Sanctuary and then set up another island for follow-up. So I really enjoy running 2 of them. I am running 1 copy of Circle and 1 copy of Skyburn. Circle is another card that's highly debated on if people run it or not, and Circle has done a lot for me in the games that I played, so I would keep it in. But that's a cuttable option. You could cut that, run cross out, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so we'll kind of get into it, and then I'll show a card by card afterwards that just kind of goes through each one for people that don't know all of them just by looking at the arts. But yeah, we'll go through, I think I have about 4 replays or so with this new variation with the 2 Bonfire. But yeah. All right, moving into game number 1 here. I'm going to be hopping around on them. Wanted to do some of the shorter ones first. That way you can get an idea for it, and then we'll move into some of the longer back and forth games. But yeah, opening game, this one I wanted to show off that, won the coin flip going first. I have an almost unplayable hand, but luckily we got Sanctuary and 1 fire. So right here, we're going to go with Sanctuary first. We're going to set up the island, use island to pop Arvada, search Garunix, use Garunix to go ahead and then summon and pop a Kieran, used Kieran to reborn the Arvada, and then I set the Imperm. So leaving these guys on board, they didn't use any hand traps. We can't go into any link climbs. So I was thinking, let's just keep 1 monster negate on the board. I have 2 more in hand and then 1 more set. So pretty solid amount of negates for doing absolutely nothing. But it looks like it's going to be Mathmech. Mathmech luckily uses tons of monsters, so we're going to interrupt the first one here with the circular effect, hitting it with the effect Veiler. This is then going to cause them to go into a new line here. They're going to go straight into the Alambert. With the Alambert, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to effect Veiler that one as well, keeping this one kind of locked down from the 2 different options where it can't use the tribute effect either. So then he's going to use Small World, pitches Nabla, uses Dotscaper to search for Diameter, classic Small World Bridge, uses that to normal summon, gonna Reborn. I'm gonna Imperm that. Reason being why I Imperm instead of Arvada at this point is if he has more extension, I'm trying to get them to go into battle phase. It looks like he does have more extension. So he goes into battle phase, beats over my Arvada. Arvada's gonna Reborn Kieran, and then now in main phase 2, he's gonna go into the Splash Mage. And this is what I was hoping would happen, is he forced out the battle phase. I can then now use Sanctuary to go into Huang on these guys. Boom, and then Huang is gonna nuke the field. So now that's a scoop. But yeah, so that was a quick, showcase of when you're bricked, it's not like an instant lose type situation. If you can put up any type of negates and then use your hand traps, after that, like I had Huang on board. I could have popped him with the Fire King Island. It would have used his effect as well, where I could add people back to hand or summon them. And then from there, we would have been able to combo off on turn 3. But yeah, so pretty quick replay on that one. We'll go ahead and transition into game number 2. All right, here we go on game number 2. This one, I won the coin flip, decided to go first. And looks like we have another interesting hand to deal with. We've got Fire King Island, a Garunix in hand. We got the Sinful Spoils in hand, called by an Imperm. Gonna use the Fire King Island, pop Garunix, search Ponix. Use the Ponix effect to just summon itself instead of normal summoning. Was mainly trying to fish for a maxi. So then I use Original Sin to search for Ash, use Ash, search Poplar, decide to get these guys into rotation since I already got 2 of my important Fire Kings into rotation. And then we're going to go into a standard Snake Eyes starter combo here. Going to use this to go into Flamberge. And then now this is trying to help protect me from Nibiru, but I decided to link it off anyways. And we're going straight into a Little Knight, which would also kind of protect me a little bit from Nibiru. Go into the Reborn 2. Use these guys to walk up into a Promethean Princess. And then we're going to use the Princess to bring back Flamberge. Flamberge is going to set SP Little Knight up in the back row. And then I use these 2 to go up into our Ambler Whale. So then I'm going to set my back row and then pass. Now in draw phase, I'm going to toggle on, bring Little Knight up into our zone. And then now we have a Little Knight live. We have our Ambler Whale live for a pop. There we go. Gonna try to force the interaction early on that. So I decide to change the Little Knight because they called by my Bestower of Flames. So Promethean Princess is gone. I'm going to get rid of the Fenrir. Turns out it is a junk converter Stardust Synchron spam synchro deck. So that ought to be interesting. I go ahead and call by that because I don't want him to get more bodies into rotation. He does end up having the extenders in hand, so in true fashion with Synchro, they're just going to combo forever. I go ahead and Imperm the Junk Speeder, and that is going to put a damper on a couple things for him. Also, another shout out, this guy's like entire deck is all Royal Finish or Glossy, so that was another interesting to see. This guy just every Stardust monster, everything. So absolutely wild. But yeah, he's gonna keep going, comboing, gonna search, bring these 2 up into another synchro. This is gonna be the Stardust Dragon Excel. Uses that to Reborn. This is also gonna bring out a guy from his banishment zone for a token. So you know how it goes. Gonna search, bring these 2 up into another synchro. This is gonna be the Stardust Dragon Excel. Uses that to Reborn. This is also gonna bring out a guy from his banishment zone for a token. So you know how it goes. There we go. Send. Bring out more tuners. Get more synchros. So yeah, we'll go ahead and speed this combo up a little bit. Goes into Dissipator. Uses Dissipator to bring a guy back. I'm gonna pop these two into a Rose Dragon. Bounces my guy back to hand and then pops in battle phase. So then right here now, let me slow it back down a little bit. So in the battle phase, it procs my Garunix. I use the Garunix to go ahead and summon itself. We're gonna pop a Kieran. I also use the effect of Amblowail to bring back the Linkuriboh. So we got Linkuriboh out. We go ahead and pop, and then using Ponix to search, force the Linkuriboh to stop his attack. And then now in end phase, I chain the Skyburn to pop the Fenrir because I don't want to deal with the Fenrir. So then here we go, standby, we get Ponix back, and then normal summon Ponix, Ponix search, we get circle, and then now we're going to use this to pop the Flamberge, search Kieran, use Flamberge effect to bring back 2 more bodies, going to use this to add for more fires in hand, send all 4 of these straight up into 4 material Appaloosa. And then with the 4 material Appaloosa on board, I use the Kieran from hand pop. He's then going to hit me with the Black Rose. So I let that go through, just chain the Garunix. Garunix pop. Gonna use this to bring back Ponix, and then that's lethal. But yep. So quick little showcase there on how your starting hand sometimes changes up your main combo or what you're trying to end on. But Little Knight was huge pivot to go into Little Knight as a branch, keeping the Flamberge on board to reborn it, get Little Knight into rotation, instead of the classic like go into Masquerena, get Masquerena into the graveyard, or use Amblowail to reborn it. Really kind of helped in that pivot to keep Little Knight active and stop the Fenrir, keep the Fenrir out of rotation, pop the Fenrir in end phase. So I really like the plays that I went with on this one to kind of showcase what the tool set's all about. You don't have to just keep using the same combo over and over again. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next game. Okay, moving into game number 3 here, and game 3 and 4 a little bit longer, deeper turns, so you can kind of see some of the recursion, things like that. This is a standard opening hand where you get Volcanics. Having Kieran in hand is wonderful. We got Fire King, we got a Skyburn, we got a Maxi, so it's going to be fun. But yeah, so we just go ahead, start with the Fire King Island, pop Volcanics. Volcanics is going to summon an extra body. This is going to get Max Seed. I'm going to chain Garunix so that we can avoid an extra draw. And then right here, we go ahead, bring out the Garunix, bring out the older version of Garunix, pop the Arvada just to get it into the graveyard. And then I just pass like this. I don't want to give them too many draws. Looks like they are a Kashtira deck. They're going to called by my Maxi, so that's a little rough. I decide at this point I'm going to go ahead and just get the Garunix into the graveyard now, and I pop the field spells so that it can't resolve. And then now this is going to stop the search, but we're kind of just hoping that they don't have a lot of stuff in hand. Looks like it ends up being a Vanquish Soul deck, so it was the classic just bait a bunch of stuff with the planet to try to get into a bunch of extra interruptions. So he uses Razen to pop my guy, and then uses Ghost Spell to stop my Reborn. This brings out a lets him reveal in the hand so he can bring out his other searcher, the Zhao Long. It's been a while since I played Vanquish Soul, forgot the names. Goes into Rock, uses these 2 to search. So now we pretty much have full hand knowledge as well. We know that he has a dead dead shifter, and then he's got 2 fires. He's got an Ash Blossom. So we're going to have to worry about the Ash Blossom. We're going to have to worry about the back row, especially because in this he'll be able to get all of his elements. So there we go. Now he has Fire, Earth, and Dark. I'm going to... Luckily, the standby phase Garunix kind of forces his whole interaction right out the gate. So he's gonna use all of this because he would have lost all of his cards off the Garunix coming out right here. Tries to protect them. Goes into an extra search off of the Raw Zen. And then he also is now going to be able to, you know, have bodies on the field to bounce around between his Caesar and things like that. I use the island first. I chain Kieran after the island just to pop my guy, get him into rotation, hoping that this is then going to set off my Garunix chain, which it does. He's now going to bounce Razen and bring out the Caesar Valius. So then right here now I'm getting Garunix out, use Garunix to pop, send a Kieran. This is just kind of bait because none of it really matters. They can't be popped anyways. But I'm using the Kieran to just kind of reborn my Arvada. Saved it with Skyburn. He targets my island to try to wipe me. Or I'm sorry, I don't have Arvada at all. So I just get the big beat sticks out. So we go into big beat sticks, go for damage. I then link 2 of these off up into our Masquerena, and then we're going to use this to kind of go up into our Ambler Whale combo, just because I'm hoping to be able to, you know, get the Ambler Whale popped, get the Masquerena back out on the board, and then kind of go from there. So when you can, might as well try to go the full line and end on the Ambler Whale. So we end like that with an Effect Veiler in hand. I'm feeling kind of good with the Promethean Pop and the combos from there. Promethean Pop does stop our ability to get the Masquerena out, so I'm kind of hoping not to have to use the pop, but sometimes it's your only option. So right here he goes into Rock. I decide to use it because Rock is a huge choke point, so him then adding the Caesar back to hand and then me popping these guys kind of stops him. He doesn't have much of a normal summon line or anything like that. Go into Garunix. We're going to pop another Kieran, which is kind of sad because I don't have the follow-up to pop anything, but only option to kind of get the Reborns going. But he's going to use his Caesar to try to bounce. I'm going to use that to go ahead, get Garunix back into the graveyard. He goes into another Rock so that he can end on Rock, and then he's kind of hoping to bring one out from his hand with the Rock effect in main phase. We top deck a Max C, not doing much for us. Here comes what I was expecting to happen. So now we're going to use Arvada, pop the Princess. Princess still resolves, even though it was popped off the field. So then we bring back Ambler Whale. I use Garunix to then summon him out, and then that's a scoop, because it would have been lethal. I had negates live. So if I would have negated, popped Ambler Whale, that would have reborn the Masquerena at that point. So tons of recursion in the graveyard to finish this one up. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and move into the final replay here for us. All right, and we are on game here now for game number 4. And in true fashion of this wonderful top-tier meta deck, completely bricked unplayable cards, but Max C is going to do some hard carrying. So we got a lot of negates. We got some Max C. So we Max C right out the start. Looks like it resolves. So this is going to be one of the few games where you actually do get to see it kind of keep people in check. He had a Shuffler. First draw is another Ash Blossom, so that's always tough to see. So he's got a Shuffler in rotation, which is rough for us. We Effect Veiler the Rhino Heart just because we can't give him a free fusion. We now know that this is going to cause the Time Thief to come out. Time Thief is then going to get some damage in, pass, and then pass. So decided not to try to go under the max C. Now he's going to try to do it in this part. So I'm going to right away chain the Imperm. He double chains, and because this second effect does include a draw, I think the first one could have been ashed as well, but I was able to ash the second one. So wonderful chain link there. Force the ash to stop it. Then it gets hit by the Imperm. Normal summon the Snash. Go into Poplar. You're going to see the standard combo now right here, where usually I would try to search the original sin. I think I drew it, so didn't get any of that in the middle of the combo. Use these two to pitch to go into Flamberge. We typically want to leave Flamberge up, and we're going to use this to set up a back row that we want to use off of original sin, but I decided to out the Time Thief. He then uses, I'm forcing the Shuffler before I go into any more combos with the Called By, because as soon as I start setting my Fire Kings up, it's going to be awful. So I use the Bonfire to get an extra fire in hand, pitch the Linkaribo to go into Ponix. Ponix is then going to search our Sanctuary. Sanctuary sets up the island, and then right here we're going to pop, search the Garunix. Garunix goes. Then right here, we're going to pop and continue. I wanted to keep the Ponix in the graveyard so I could get the Kieran line live. Another possible line here, which would have made the Flamberge more usable later on, is if I use a Fire King, pop, Snash, I wouldn't have a Reborn right here. So going into Kieran pop is kind of debatable, but what I would have done is probably pop an Volcanics, get an extra Garunix out on the board just to get more link climb heavy options. But I decided to go for the pop route. I was hoping I could try to go for lethal, but then I sat here for a while doing math, realized it wouldn't be close to it. Decided let's just go like this. I had more damage on the board before, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not concerned about leaving them on 500 LP versus 3000. So we go into Promethean Princess, we use Princess, reborn the Flamberge. Now that I have two bodies, I can link this off again, and this is going to get me into an Ambler Whale, and then we're going to use the Reborn, or actually no, I'm sorry, didn't get the Reborn because I still have the Snash in hand. So that's what I was talking about, where it would have been nice to get Snash into the rotation. I could have then set up like a Masquerena or something, or even a Little Knight in the end phase here to even bolster this board more. But you'll see that this deck just kind of carries itself, so it doesn't matter. There's 5 different lines you could take with every different hand that you have and what you're doing. And it's, as long as you get your people into the graveyard and you get your recursion live, it doesn't really matter. So right here, he's forced to go into a snow, and he's got nothing else. I still had the Promethean live, so I think he was just kind of activating effects to show that he was completely done. But yeah, so as you know, that's rinse and repeat. Masquerena comes out, stop his only play. I reborn a bunch of people, pop his guy, and then from there we just go ahead, keep comboing. He ends the turn. I have way more than lethal. But yeah, so that is going to be the end of that one for sure. And you know, a lot of different options in there in the dual log, just to kind of break it back down. Different plays and pivots I could have taken in the beginning, where you're kind of going between your two lines. Do I want to keep Flamberge? Do I want to get more Kierans into rotation? Things like that. That's one of the nice things about running the Volcanics is, you know, you could have popped Snash, search Garunix, Garunix pop Volcanics, Volcanics gets another defense body out on the board. I have more combos to go into early, keeping the Flamberge on. And then by the time I finally go into the Flamberge line, I have Snash and Ponix in the graveyard. I can reborn both of them, and then we just kind of go from there. But yeah, I just want to do a quick showcase on how the deck functions with less bonfire in it. It's not that big of a consistency hit. You feel it where there's a lot of games where you just don't see any of your Snake Eyes cards at all. You never see Poplar, you never get into Snash. So you do kind of feel it in a sense like that. But if you're running a more Fire King heavy build, there's so many boards you can get up without it, and it's worth it. Did want to take a moment here. We'll pivot off of this to kind of go into um, where another option for deck builds. This is the more heavy Snake Eyes variant. So here you're going to run a copy of Oak, and then you're also running the field spell. And the reason why you would run this variation over the other with the Diabell Star, very minimal Fire King. This is more of a Snake Eyes heavy build. You're running the Subversion. This is going to be more bang for your buck. This is going to be like you go all in, you have a God Hand, you have Black Witch and access to Ash through Bonfire or something. Like, you can go into a line where you're basically even safe from evenly matched. So this is really, really strong top tier version of the deck. No Rangbali, no double Fire King Island, stuff like that. This is all gas, kind of all go in and hope you win right from there, versus this being more Fire King heavy. I didn't get any good Rangbali lines in during the replays, but during the climb from plat back into diamond, I really used it quite often. So it's I like this version of the deck. This is way less Snake Eyes heavy, way less like let me do all of my Snake Eyes combos, but a lot of fun in this variation of it. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of shout out the two changes to it, where, you know, versus this version you're running full Snake Eyes combo. You have a lot of your Snake Eyes lines are still alive. You have Divine Temple for like under max C plays and things like that. So this is really, really probably the better version of the deck, but I enjoy running the Volcanics, running the old Garunix, running Rangbali in it, having these different tech options for the spell cards. So it's really an interesting setup for sure, for if you're into the fire meta and the Snake Eyes and Fire King variants. I recommend checking this list out for sure. But yeah, sorry for this long rambling at the end, and walk through card by card real quick for everybody. Effective Ailer, Snake Eye Ash, Fire King Ponix, Poplar, we have Maxi, we have Ash Blossom, we have Arvada, we have Rangbali, we have Volcanics, we have OG, Fire King High Avatar Garunix. There is the Flamberge, one copy, one of the new Sacred Fire King Garunix, 3 copies of Kieran, 2 Talent, 2 Bonfire due to the new hit that's coming, 1 Original Sin, 2 Fire King Island, 2 Sanctuary, 1 Circle, 2 Called By, 1 Skyburn, 3 Imperm, and then in the extra deck, we are running the Huang, we have the Linkaribo, Doolittle Chimera, Sunlight Wolf, we have Fire Charmer Hita, Masquerena, Dark Charmer. I'm running 2 copies of Little Knight, 2 copies of Promethean, and then I'm also running 1 Ambler Whale, 1 Appaloosa, 1 Zealantis, and then 1 Raging Phoenix, just for after this guy gets banished, longevity plays, 2 Prometheans, you have an extra run through into Phoenix. So yeah, that is the card by card. Those were the gameplays. I hope you enjoyed it. I am now going to be working on some of the Diamond to Master gameplays are going to be some of the newer decks coming out. I'm also trying to get some, next video is going to be updated going second Blind Sky Striker. Really loving this deck, so more to come on that. Oops, what was it? discard. But thanks so much, guys. Please leave comments. Let me know. I got a new microphone, so really trying these long form breakdown type videos out versus my classic music video style. So I know there's not much of an audience right now in general, but anybody who stumbles across this and makes it this deep in, please leave any feedback or info that you have. Just kind of doing this as a hobby and would love the feedback. Thanks, guys.
Artificial love, we just make it up, 'cause reality will never be good enough. And even if it was, we just mess it up.